Welcome to the podcast. We Do Recover with Jared Miller, your host.
And I'm Dr. Terry Sellers, your co-host.
This is a podcast about recovery from addiction.
We want to talk about what successful recovery can look like.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn.
All right, everybody, we are back in the studio. I just want to start off by thanking all of our listeners. It just blows my mind. We've been doing this for a couple of years, and just the response has been fantastic. Thank you guys for downloading this on any major podcast platform. Thank you for sharing this with your friend, talking to your coworkers about this. My gratitude today is off the charts. I really appreciate it. Let's get to it. For today's episode, I brought on clinical social worker, Stacie Later. Stacie's coming on to talk to us about risk factors and warning signs of suicide. And I think she might have a little bit of a journey of her own. Before we get to that, though, Episode 74 is brought to you by Steps Recovery Centers, where they are ready to help you or a loved one as soon as you're ready to get help. Get help by reaching out to them at 801-800-8142. Or you can go to their website. That's www.stepsrc.com.
Is that HTTP or HTTPS?
No idea.
Okay. Continue.
Do we not say the www anymore?
Don't say www.
Oh, okay.
There's more syllables in www than World Wide Web. Okay, the abbreviation is longer than the actual verbiage.
Fantastic. Thank you for that.
So the website is?
StepsRC.com.
Boom. Boom.
And Sean Denovan, the beautiful voice in the mic, it has it pulled up. So you can also go on there and you can live chat with Micah. And anyways, again, if you or a loved one need help, please reach out to them. They are a fantastic facility. They have detox, inpatient, outpatient, from start to finish. They are there. Do you have any experience with steps, Stacie?
I've done the 12 steps in groups and meetings before.
But the actual treatment center, do you have?
No, no, I have not.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, they're fantastic. Well, let's go ahead and get to it. We always start off with new and goods.
New and good.
I love it. Okay, so let's get it from you. Stacie, how was the drive down here?
It was really good. There was a lot of folks coming down today. So I just felt like I was kind of like in this little caravan, and I was just like kind of like my brain. Obviously, I'm a social worker.
Yeah.
So my brain was like, I wonder what these folks are doing.
Baseball.
I'm like, yeah, like there was like schools with like their little trailers going back, and like my brain was like just like driving along, and I'm thinking, I wonder what road game they're playing.
Oh, absolutely, right?
Legit. I just was like, that looks like really awesome.
What were some of the road games that are fun to play on trips? Like, would you ever, right? Or would you rather? There's some good ones out there. All right, well, let's get, what is your new and good? Let's practice a little positive psychology. You're a clinical social worker, so you got that clinical mind. You know all about positive psychology. What's some good stuff going on in your life, Stacie?
Definitely, this is a new thing for me, and I feel like it's a good thing.
You're overcoming some fears today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm super proud of you. It's been cool to watch. You're a little nervous, but you're here.
Yeah.
I love it. And listen, it's always fantastic when we can get people that can come on and they can share on like topic-based conversations. So I'm super excited for that. Anything else that's new and good?
Actually, I also picked up my wedding ring from Shanko today.
Wow.
Got it polished up. One of my diamonds fell out, so got a new diamond in it.
Fantastic.
So
I heard you had a friend over there.
I do.
At the Shane Company?
I was going to say his
On the
name's
corner
Carlos.
of 300 River Road?
I was going to say his name's
Friday
Carlos,
6,
the
Sundays
front
till
dude.
7?
Are we going to bill them for that free advertisement,
Ooh.
Sean?
It's just part of our culture now.
Congratulations on getting the ring.
Thank you.
It's beautiful, by the way.
Bless.
Yes. Hashtag blessed life.
Yes.
All right, Sean Denovan, let's hear
Oh, my new and good, I gave a seminar today
on
the suicide of radio.
Like, talk to me about that. What does that even mean, man?
The strengths of radio have now become its Achilles heel. So music used to be all radio. Now
Yeah.
we can get music anywhere and everywhere. News and information used to be primarily radio. Now it's everywhere and anywhere. And now content used to be radio. Now that's everywhere and anywhere, specifically podcasts. And the things that made radio great, radio really hasn't kept along with doing. So it's not the outside forces that are killing radio. It's radio from the inside not keeping up like it's supposed to.
Gotcha.
In
where
my-
you're
in
like
my
a,
opinion.
you're like a diehard radio guy too, right?
Yeah.
So that's like a passionate topic for you to do a seminar
And I
on.
don't know if you could see this, but this is an email I just got from one of my former bosses who watched the seminar online.
Yeah.
He's like, I agree with you on everything, and I disagree with you on everything. And I'm like, I might have to read this later after the podcast because it's kind of extensive. I'm like, dude, whatever, man.
He wrote you a novel, man.
He
That's
did.
not an email. That's a novel.
I think I pushed a button or so on him. Oh, whatever.
Whatever.
So that's my new and good. Now I don't have to worry about things. I can get back to life.
Nice. He pushed the button. So well, that takes me into my new and good. My new and good is one of our sponsors is Recovery Strong. And Recovery Strong, JJ Shaw and Jared Shaw, a couple of their buddies, they all came down. And in fact, I was late meeting you because I was stuck in a meeting with them. So they invite me. So Jared Shaw kind of pulled a fast one on me, right? I mean, I'm a big guy. Like, I'm not a marathon athlete. You know what I mean? And so he's like, hey, we're going to go on a hike. And before the meeting, do you want to come on the hike? And I'm like, yeah, great. You know, how long? And he's like, it's 2 miles. So first of all, if you follow Recovery Strong on social media, these guys don't hike. What do they do, Stacie?
They run.
They're like mountain goats.
Yeah, they are literally like billy goats. They just like go.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so and then the 2 miles was just to the first stopping point. The total mileage was 6 miles. So I survived that. I'm a marathon trail running survivor now.
I'm so proud of you.
I'm going to start that campaign. That's
Look
a
at
real
you.
thing.
Look at you. You're here. You made it. You
I'm glad I have a
survived.
therapist to process this in studio today.
I will validate so much of this. Like, you tried a new thing today. I'm trying a new thing today. Look at us go, dude.
I know. High five.
Yes.
Boom.
Boom.
Just got it.
Go team.
Awesome. So that's my new and good. I got to go trail running with JJ and Jared Shaw. Recovery Strong. Love those guys. Just love everything they do. And so we might have some announcements coming up from Recovery Strong here soon. Cool stuff coming out. Yeah. I'm excited about it. I'm going to keep it under wraps. Before we dive into you, Stacie, we are doing a promo shirt giveaway. Okay. So here's the criteria. I will give you a free We Do Recover podcast t-shirt if you go to any major podcast platform, subscribe, give us a review. I mean, we would love a 5-star review, of course, but if you don't feel like we deserve 5 stars, that's okay too. I want it to be authentic. So go to any major podcast platform, subscribe, give us a review, and then DM me on our Facebook page. That's We Do Recover with Jared Miller. Send me a private message and just let me know what size and where to mail it to. We've got a bunch of them. I'm trying to break the barrier and get an additional discount. So that's going to run through the end of the month, so it's not too late. Go get your podcast t-shirt. Free promo. We're just giving stuff away, Stacie.
Dig it.
Dig it.
Dig it.
So talk to me about, I guess we should probably get after it now, right? We got all the house chores out of the way. They're not house chores. We love that stuff too, but okay. So you're here to talk to us about risk factors and warning signs and preventative, what was the other one?
Preventative factors.
Preventative factors of suicide, which I love it. I love when somebody can come on and share some content. But I want our listeners to get to know Stacie. So I realize this isn't like a full-blown, like you coming on and sharing your story, but I want to get, Are you a person, let me just get straight to it.
Yeah.
Are you a person in long-term recovery?
Yes.
Fantastic. Let's hear about that.
Okay. So I'm in long-term recovery of 11 and a half years. My sobriety date is
11 and a half.
11 and a half.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
My date is August 29th, 2010.
Talk to me about what was going, like how long were you in active addiction, and share as much or as little as you're comfortable with. I realize with us clinicians, we have to kind of be careful because too much self-disclosure can be a tricky thing. Share as much or as little as you're comfortable with.
Okay.
Well, what did that look like? What was active addiction for you?
Yeah. So my life, my addiction, I was a troubled youth, and I didn't get the help I needed when I needed it. And I was overwhelmed, and I actually got kicked out of an LDS private school because I was quote unquote unwilling to learn.
Oh.
And I was a negative influence on peers because I was unwilling to learn.
That's a heavy label. How old were you?
Heavy later, right? I was 15.
15. That is a heavy label for a 15-year-old. Did you end up going to like a camp? Like
No.
last week, 73, our guest, Tasha Locks shared that she went to like a behavioral mod.
Camp.
Yeah. Did you do anything like that?
Nope. So
Okay.
I got kicked out of private school, and then I went to public school. And while I was sitting in the counselor's office, he turned to me and he's like, "What have you been doing for the past few years?" And I was just like, "Oh, I've been going to school." And he was
Sure.
like, "You have 0 credits.
What?
None of my credits transferred. This school wasn't accredited yet."
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And so I was like,
Did your parents know that?
"Nope,
They had no idea.
nope."
Wow.
And so we were like, well, what do I do? Because at that point, like, I was already like halfway through 11th grade.
Oh, wow.
Like-
So, yeah.
Yeah.
15, 11th grade. Okay.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, what do I do? And they were like, packets. And
That's a lot of packets, girl.
oh, dude, I was the packet smuggler. Like, I talked
The
to
packet smuggler.
my teachers and was like, hey, I have this packet. Can I do it while I'm in your class? And some of them were like really cool with it. So like, yeah, if you're doing, like, my history teacher was like, yeah, if you do like your history packet, you can do it in the back of class during our class. And so like, I would be like shuffling my current homework versus the packet back and forth, back and forth.
Man.
And then like I had to do like the BYU independent study thing, like where you like do it online and then go down and take a test.
Talk
So it's
about
like-
pressure, though.
It was so much pressure. And so like I would be in school and like my classmates would be crying about one book for our current English class, and I am there like, yo, I have to read Call of the Wild, The Hatchet, these other things. Like, I don't know.
Don't
And
talk to me about your one book that you're working on, okay? I'm working on 3.
Yeah, I was like overwhelmed. I was
For
to the
sure.
brink, and like I just didn't have any coping skills. Like I did everything I could that was in my power to try and get caught up. Like I was staying after school. I was like scrubbing beakers. I was scraping worm guts off of things. Like I
Just
had
trying to get credits.
I had a really cool math teacher who could see how overwhelmed I was, and he would actually like hand me a Sudoku puzzle and be like, "Here, if you do this, I will give you 15 extra credit points." And I was like, "Done."
Do you remember the name of the teacher? Do you feel comfortable sharing?
It was Frischnicht,
Frischnicht?
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Teacher Frischnicht.
Nick Ray Frischnicht. Yep.
What a good guy.
Yep.
Yes, the awareness to be able to see that. That's
Yes.
fantastic.
And he actually passed away.
Ah,
So I do have an ankle tattoo of him.
in loving memory. Do
In
you
loving
really?
memory. I do.
What is it?
So his thing is a little B+ with a blood drop.
Oh, she's got it. That's awesome.
So his thing was when we're like, he could see you're like feeling like crap. He would just be like, "Remember my blood type, B positive." And so
I
it's like,
love that.
he was one of the few people I felt like could actually see how on my brink edge I was. And so like he passed away a couple years ago. Unexpectedly got a rare disease and passed. And so I was doing everything I could to just try and keep up.
Yeah.
And it just felt like I was just drowning. And, like I even like tried doing rugby to get my anger and aggression out, and you know that's like, yeah, it was okay. It worked a little bit. It worked had. And then my brother was getting ready to go on his mission, and
Okay.
I came home and he was zonked staring at the ceiling, and he got his wisdom teeth out.
Oh, yeah. I see what's coming. I see
Yeah.
what's on the horizon.
He got his wisdom teeth out, and I was like, just staring at him like he was just like stoning out, staring at a ceiling fan like nothing.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah.
he like after he was like, yeah, it was weird. I couldn't think. I couldn't feel. Like I don't know. I was just there, and I was like, oof.
What did that do for you?
Oh, my brain was like, oh, I found my solution. I found what I need.
And introduce
Yeah.
substance abuse.
Yep.
So what did that look like the first time?
Stealing my brother's lower tab.
So your DOC was opiates.
Yep.
Okay. Which is, listen, there's a pandemic going on. People want to talk about COVID, but hey, there's still an opiate pandemic going on, everybody.
The opidemic, it's real.
Opidemic. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so you try your first opiate. What do you remember? And I don't want to glorify this, so I almost hesitate to ask this question.
Yeah.
But do you remember? Like, I know one of the distinct things that we look for is around when we're doing our thing clinically. Is what was the feeling the first time you took it? Because like some people take it and they feel terrible, right? They feel itchy, they feel nauseous, they feel like they're going to throw up.
Yeah.
So obviously that person's not going to get addicted.
Right. So for me, when I took it, it was like every good feeling I've ever had in my life lumped into one. And it was just there in a pill.
Sure.
Every good thing that's ever been around in my life that I've ever felt, just there.
Well, and I'm sure too, like if I can try to put myself in your shoes, 15-year-old Stacie, just transferred schools, probably a social thing going on where, you're wanting to make friends. You probably don't feel super accepted because you're the new person in school in 11th grade. That's an awfully hard time to reconnect with people when there's only 1 year left. You got all these work packets going on. That is an enormous amount of pressure. I mean,
right.
I'm sure you were looking for a way to check out. You're looking for a way to kind of numb out.
Yeah. So like I was 16 when I did first try it. Like my 16th birthday did pass and it was like, yes.
Did that just sound like I was totally justifying substance abuse for people in their teens? It did, didn't it? That didn't feel right. I'm just trying to empathize and understand.
Developmentally though, substance use experimentation is normal.
True.
Like, and this is how I knew that my substance use was different is like, there's the normal substance use and then there's the addict substance use.
So you, the next day or when it wore off, you were like, I got to do that again.
After that, I was like, that was so nice.
Yeah.
And like, it was like all I could think about. It was like obsessive. All I could think about constantly. Like, when can I try this again? And then there was a guy at school. He was a big stoner. And I was like, yo, I tried this. You got to try one. And I gave him one. He came back to me and he was like, yo, what's wrong with you? That was the worst thing I've ever had. And I was like, and then he never talked to me again. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Not even cool enough to have the stoner kid hang out with me.
Though, it just goes to show different strokes for different folks, right? Like, yeah. And again, I really don't want the takeaway to be that we're glorifying this. Substance abuse is a terrible thing, but it does happen, and it's understandable, especially, in other words, I'm not trying to co-sign that it's okay for people that are in a situation similar to you to use, but I also want to be understanding.
Right. Because you've said before, it's addiction. It's not the problem. It's the solution. And it's like for teenage me, I found my solution.
Yeah.
Everything else in my life was either stripped from me or wasn't working anymore.
Until that solution becomes the problem.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So talk to me about, okay.
Yeah.
So, opiate. I get it, right? I totally am here with you. Was there a point, and maybe I'm fast forwarding too fast, but is there a point where you were moved out of pre-contemplation into contemplation? Like, I might have a problem. What'd that look like for you?
So when it was like, I have a problem.
Yeah. Do you remember specifically a moment when you're like, I can no longer control this?
Yeah. It was like when I realized that I just couldn't stop obsessing about it.
So what age?
I was about 17.
So 2 years. 2 years goes by that this is just normal.
Yeah. And, it's like I was told you're not going to graduate high school. And so, of course, when I hear things like you can't do something, I'm like, yes, challenge accepted.
Ding, challenge accepted.
Ding, challenge accepted. So like a week before graduation, I got told that you're graduating. You did it. And I was like, sweet. But I didn't get a walk in my ceremony because I missed registration. So I didn't get a walk in high school.
Oh, right.
And then after all that, everything I was in high school is it really instilled this thought of I'm not enough.
Ooh.
It really hit that hard.
That belief was planted.
Yes, because I saw all my friends being like, yeah, I got accepted into the U. I'm going to Slick. I'm going to Dixie State. I'm going here, here, and here. And I'm like, cool. I don't know what I'm doing with my life and where I'm going. And I was like, okay, I'll do a trade. And so I enrolled in massage school and did massage school. But like while I was there, like before I got enrolled, I got a boyfriend, and he was not a good dude. He actually followed me into massage school. So there was domestic violence there.
Oh, no.
And, you know, it's like the more I realized.
So he was almost like swim fan style, like stalker style.
Yeah.
Like he was all about you in too much of a way.
Yeah.
Codependent.
It was dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you know, is realizing it's like, oh crap, what have I gotten my life into? What is my life? And then like I was like still unable to stop. I luckily got
Still
away.
using.
Still using.
Okay.
Got
Well,
away.
listen, we don't make the best decisions typically when we're
Right.
using.
No.
And we don't always, right? Our frontal cortex is shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So like logical thoughts like, hey, this person might be bad for me, typically doesn't register when we're abusing substances.
Right.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. And so like, luckily like broke up with him, and then he actually threatened to blackmail me on everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to beat you to the punch on this. And like, I went and I like came clean about my stuff and my things,
So he was going to blackmail you about your substance abuse.
substance use and anything else I've done.
Sounds like a great dude.
Yeah.
Real class act.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll leave him anonymous
Leave
because
him
we don't want to get
anonymous.
sued on this
He's
podcast.
in the past.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so-
and so like,
Oh, I was just going to say, so yeah, personal relationships are kind of in the dumps, not
yeah,
good stuff.
Not good stuff. And then like, after I got him out of my life, I was like, great. And then I was still stuck with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And-
did you go to treatment?
Nope.
So what did getting into recovery look like for you?
So during that time, one of my nieces got really sick,
Okay.
and she actually had kidney failure. And they didn't know what was going on with her and what the cause was. So she was in primary children's hospital for weeks at a time. So my family members were dropping their kids off with me, and they would be like, hey, you were asleep, but we just like pop the kids on the couch with some SpongeBob. See you later. And then it just was like occurring to me more and more. I'm like, oh my gosh, this isn't just affecting me. It's affecting them. Somebody needs to be taking care of them. And I just couldn't.
Yeah.
And then I like, one day, like I went in and like I realized my nephew, who was 7, 8 at the time, was playing with matches while I was passed out. And, you know, that was like my...
It's eye-opening. It is. It's
Yeah.
eye-opening. Like, you can't deny the evidence in front of you at that point.
Yeah. So that was like my biggest point of like, I need to really change something, because this is not just affecting me. It's not just impacting me. And so I was like, okay. And then I just really hunkered down, and it was really hard. I had to detox at home. My family didn't know. There was so much going on. I didn't want to throw one more thing at them. And so I detoxed at home, downstairs.
That's incredible.
On the couch and in the shower, just...
I don't think people realize how hard that is.
It was so hard. My friends would like text me. It was like, part of what I was doing is like, okay, I got to find a new group. Who are some like sober people? It's like the Mormon kids at Institute.
There you go.
Hang
Hey.
out with them, right?
Change your social circle.
Yeah, changing my social circle. And they like texted me and they're like, do you want to go to a movie? And I was like, I'm sick. And so it was just so much of like me realizing, you know, I'm done with this. It's wreaking hell on my life, and I can't have this.
So you were actually had enough awareness to see the negative consequences that it was happening to your life, put a stop to it before it got worse.
Right.
Which is pretty incredible. Like the fact that you didn't have to go to, well, you probably should have gone to
I should have.
detox, it sounds
I
like.
really should have, but we're not going to shit all over ourselves now, right?
Hey, there you go. Thank you for catching me
Yeah.
in that. Yeah, pretty amazing. So is that kind of what, now I only have a minute left here, so this is going to be a tricky question. Is that what really kind of pushed you in the clinical direction?
It was a real like snowball effect of everything.
Okay.
Like, I went to massage school and then was like, yeah, I'm tired of being a massage therapist. And then I jumped into being a personal trainer and was like, okay, this is fun. And then I got given more like donation drives and community engagement. And that was like my catalyst into, I want to be a social worker.
You know, the common theme between every single one of those that you just described is what?
Helping.
Helping people. Helping people. So it just makes sense that you kind of walked into that pathway.
Right.
This has been so much fun. Listen, everybody, I know that we've kind of teased you. We are going to talk about risk factors and warning signs of suicide in part 2 of episode 74. We appreciate your patience, and we will be right back after this little 30-second sponsorship mention. Thank you so much.
You are listening to We Do Recover with Jared Miller and co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. We'll be right back after this short break with more of We Do Recover with Jared Miller, sponsored by Steps Recovery Center and the Hilton Garden Inn.
I'm Desmond Lomax, one of the clinical executives here at Steps Recovery, and once you become with the Steps family, you're just a part of the Steps family. A lot of us have overcome substances, overcome addiction, and now we're able to help other people. Second of all, we're also going to help you in a way where you can afford to be helped. Third of all, we're going to give you the same quality that many organizations are charging 2 to 3 times, and it's more about you than it is about our organization.
We welcome you back to We Do Recover with Jared Miller, co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. And now with part 2 of our podcast, Jared Miller and Dr. Terry Sellers.
Well, we didn't get the Desmond Lomax video to play, but he just basically wants to let you...
I'll edit it in post.
Fantastic. Let's move past that.
So according to everybody, it's already happened. So
There
what are
you
you
go.
talking about?
I like it. All right. Episode 74 is underway. And before we get back to Stacie, I want you guys to know that episode 74 part 2 is brought to us by the Hilton Garden Inn. If you're traveling through southern Utah, give them a Google search. Just type in Hilton Garden Inn, St. George, Utah. They have amazing amenities. And, you know, unfortunately, our guest hasn't been able to stay there because they're so booked, right? That army of cars that were going down to St. George, Utah.
All the softball.
Yeah, so unfortunately, they didn't have any sponsorship spots for us this weekend, but that's okay. We love them. Episode 74 is also brought to us by Recovery Strong. Recovery Strong is all about fighting addiction and strengthening recovery. Check it out. If you want to be a part of the movement, the recovery movement, to overcome the stigma, wear your recovery with pride. Go to recoverystrong.com. They have some really cool t-shirts, some really cool hats. They got some amazing sweaters. They got gift cards if you're just wanting to, get a gift card for somebody for their birthday. They have check it out. So we showed the website. I got on a t-shirt today. It's a Recovery Strong t-shirt. I know Sean's deep over there. And yeah, I got the Recovery Strong t-shirt we're rocking today. Brand new one. Boom, there it is.
I'm like, yeah, it's on the screen, man. The guys are wearing the t-shirts. What are you talking about? I don't care about your underwear. What is going on?
Yeah,
Solid.
so it is, and it fits nice. It's I love it. They got good stuff. We got the Recovery Strong hat going on. Anyways, Recovery Strong, thank you guys so much for your sponsorship. Okay. So I asked you what kind of got you into becoming, because you're a clinical social worker, right? You're a therapist. I'm curious, and we are going to get to risk factors and warning signs of suicide. But I just want to bridge this. How do you go from, because listen, if I'm in massage school, right, going into therapies, it had to have been like intimidating, right? Like, so talk to me about that. You've made the decision. You want to help people. You want to go into social work. What did that look like? Was school tough? Was it easy? Did you have any parts where you were like, your recovery helped you? Talk to me about that.
Okay. So I actually did try and go back to school back in 2011 when I was new in my early recovery.
Okay.
And I couldn't do it.
Too much.
It was too much already. Like, it was just too much. And so I actually dropped out of Slick.
You know what? That's actually pretty smart. One of the biggest things that leads to a relapse, stress.
Right.
Stress is the number one cause of relapse. So it's cool that you didn't relapse. You just dropped out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I dropped out, and then I worked as a personal trainer for a while at Gold's Gym. And then while I was working there, I was organizing donation drives, doing community engagement stuff, pairing our gym with Gigi's Playhouse. So I was making it more inclusive and environment of like just community. It was amazing.
Love it.
And I was like, I like this more than I like my job. And then one of my friends who worked at the gym passed away by suicide. And that was also part of my catalyst, because I was already thinking, I was like, I want to go to school for social work. And then it was like, yeah, I really need to do this. I want to do this.
There's a need there.
Yeah. And so
that's why you're so passionate, because when I talk to you about coming on the podcast, you're like, I want to talk about suicide. Right? Like, so I get it now. I get why you're passionate about it.
Right. Yeah. Like, you don't just stumble into this field for nothing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And so 2017 May, I re-enrolled in Slick, and it was funny because my transcripts from 2011 were still there, and it was like my GPA was like 0.00, and it was like all F's tanked, because I didn't even like be like, yo, I'm out. I'd literally just like stop showing up. I was like, peace.
Bad idea.
Yeah, it was bad. But like,
funny now though.
Right. Because like then I was like, I was seeing a therapist, and she was like, I can maybe see about writing you a letter, because you left for mental health concerns, mental health reasons. You had to leave so you could take care of yourself. And I was like, yes.
Please write that.
Please write that. So she wrote a letter, and they took that off my transcripts, but just put it as a W, so it didn't even affect my GPA anymore.
That's awesome. I didn't even know you could do that.
Yes. And so
man, you're teaching me all kinds of stuff.
Just wait, there's more.
Okay.
And so it was like a clean slate. And to me, it's like that was a gift of recovery.
Absolutely.
That like there's so many, that's the beautiful thing about recovery, is there's so many gifts within it. And so it's like my clean slate at Slick was a gift of recovery. And so like I went in there, and it's like I knew exactly where I wanted to go. I wanted to get my MSW. And so I treated my time in community college like I was almost in my own mini master's program.
Nice.
And so like
that's the mindset you had going in. That's the approach that you took to take it serious.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like I took every opportunity I could to learn. I did like the 40-hour sexual assault advocate training and everything I could like outside of school to learn. I worked in the field.
Totally immersed yourself
just
in all
everywhere.
of it.
Yeah, just bathed in it.
Love it. Yeah. No, I listen, you got to be passionate. You got to be devoted. You've got to be into it. Like
right.
I get you.
Yeah. And so went to Slick and ended up actually getting like scholarships for it. And then when I transferred to the U, I got a Transfer Achievement Award scholarship.
Wow. That's a long ways from doing packets in high school, girl.
Yeah.
Long ways.
And so like I did my associates in a year and a half. And then I did my bachelor's also in a year and a half, because I plugged in my summers.
Wow.
And I was
That's
like,
impressive.
And I was like, I want this. This is what I need to do.
Hold on. You went from doing packets in high school and barely squeezing by to getting a bachelor's degree in 18 months.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, it wasn't. It was it was
amazing.
It was 36 technically, right? Because it was a year and a half for associates, year and a half for okay. Yeah,
so a year and a half then the associates, a year and a half after the associates was the bachelor's.
Yeah.
Hey, that's still good.
And it's still impressive.
That's
like
still that's still a year ahead of time.
Yeah,
for most
it was
people.
It was still like
and
a
3 years ahead of you.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah, you're absolutely right. And listen,
It's
it
not a
proves
competition.
because I'm what did Ty Hansen say to me? Simple-minded. I can't do math. It's fine. Totally
Social
fine.
work. You're built for it.
There we go.
Join us.
Okay, here we go. So
yeah.
I hope to get on your level one day. Right now, I'm
Good.
just an A SUDC, but
And so like at the U, I did the SUDSI program, and then I missed the master's program application by a semester for the U, and my plan was to go right into my master's. And so I was like, oh, okay, what do I do? And so I was like looking at other schools in the state, and I was like, nothing really was what I wanted.
it's popping out at you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I started looking at like online stuff, and I was like, okay, sure, like Boise State online. Okay, cool. And like sent a picture to my husband, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm applying here. And my husband was like, okay, I wouldn't mind go into Boise for a year so you can go to school.
Cool.
If that's what you want. And I was like, oh, it's online. And he called me so fast. And he was like, you have worked too hard to settle for a school that you're not really wanting. And so I was like, okay. And then I got talking to one of my teachers at the U, and he's like, I think a Jesuit school would be a good fit for you. And I was like,
What's a
"Ooh."
Jesuit school?
It's a Catholic school, Society of Jesus. It's like very engaged in academic. It's very thorough
cool.
academic.
Way cool. So is that where you ended up going?
Mm-hmm.
Where was that?
Loyola University, Chicago.
Wow.
And so
Online, or you went there?
just wait, there's more. Yeah, because I got my acceptance letter the same week that COVID hit.
Dang.
And so like they were like,
So this wasn't too long ago.
no.
Wow.
So they're like, our program is typically in person, but we're gonna make it online for remote learning. And
Sure.
so it was still an amazing experience. It was everything I wanted. It was challenging. It was engaging, and like everything like we talked about earlier, it's like it all came full circle. I ended up getting an academic scholarship for my master's.
That's incredible. Isn't it cool when stuff works out like that? So cool.
So I like to chuckle. I'm like, yeah, I was told I'm unwilling to learn.
In your face, whoever said that, right? Get it. Okay, cool. We got
Dive
15
in.
minutes left here. And I know you got some education that you can share with our listeners. So let's talk about risk factors and signs of suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Now that people know that your path in getting into social work, why are you so passionate about it?
Why am I so passionate about suicide?
Yeah.
Because suicide, it's about ending the pain, right?
Absolutely.
It's a hopeless
Did you know
act.
I had an attempt in 2014?
I did not.
Yeah, it's part of my story. But this is about you, so let's get back to it. So yeah.
Fist bump.
Boom.
Boom.
So I can totally
Yeah.
relate, and this is passionate to me. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's really common in active addiction and recovery. It's actually part of our risk factors and warning signs. And so I'm passionate about it because it's a hopelessness. And I feel that the more we can understand it, the more we're able to instill hope.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So with my little thing is I say this, and I don't think people truly understand it. If people have been there, then they might. But I got to a point where I was so hopeless, I felt so invisible that I was willing to die for the chance to feel like I was alive or living for something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's weird, right? It's a broken thought. But when you're in it, you believe
Yes.
it. You just want the pain to end.
Yeah.
You want to feel like you're not invisible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not so much about wanting to die, it's wanting the pain to end.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So what are some of the risk factors associated with suicide?
Yeah, so risk factors are things that can contribute to a potential attempt of suicide,
Okay.
right? So substance use, history of substance use, right?
Big
one.
risk factor.
Big risk factor. We
Yeah.
hear it in AA circles. It's like people are like, yo, I'm in long-term recovery and I would rather kill myself than go back to my use. And
Yep.
we see that a lot.
Yeah. I don't mean to laugh, but I've
Yeah.
a time or two I've thought that. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be that way. And
Right.
that's why I'm passionate about suicidology is I feel like we can build lives and a world worth living.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what are some other risk factors in there? Obviously substance abuse. And I was thinking this because if my suicide would have been, if I would have passed, okay, I don't, right? The terminology these days is just all over the place. If I would have died by suicide, that's the way that I feel the most comfortable saying that.
Yes.
If I would have died by suicide, it would have gone in the statistics as a accidental overdose.
Right.
Because I didn't leave a letter. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even talk about it for years after, right? Probably like 5 or 6 years after I kept that a very, very tight secret. I often wonder with all of the overdoses that we see, how many of them weren't so accident.
Right. And that's why statistics with addiction and suicide are so messy is because they can't tell what is an accident and what was purposeful.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some of the other risk factors? Is there a gender risk factor? Is there like, like a big one I know, ASAM6, right? Like living environment. Like what are some of the, there's got to be some other risk factors in there.
Yeah, so gender, right? There's males aged 45 to 64. That's a huge
45 to 64.
Yeah, that's a huge demographic.
For us
That's
males.
white males.
Okay. Caucasian males. It gets even deeper.
Yeah, Caucasian white males.
Okay.
And
Why do you think that is?
well, there's a few different things. It's like that's a very pivotal age. It's like
45 to, what was it again?
45 to 64.
45 to 64. Okay.
Because it's like, okay, well, retirement's coming up, right? Empty nesting. What have I done with my life?
Mm.
It's like,
When do
what
people
is-
typically have midlife crisis?
No,
Is it around 40? Would it be in their 40s, Sean, do you
Yeah.
think?
it's around
I've
their
had
40s.
3 already. So
I was gonna say, I'm in my 30s, and I feel like I've already had a few.
I'm just trying to correlate it. I wonder if there's some kind of correlation there between like when people start having midlife crisis and
Yeah,
you think you're having one. Maybe
Absolutely.
when you're getting to be about 30, you're like, oh, I'm old. And then when you're 35, you're like, oh, I've already been divorced twice. And then like when you hit 40, then your body's like, okay, now stuff's happening. Yeah, about 40, about 44, 45, and then it's like I can't see as well. It hurts when I sneeze, stuff like that. That's the midlife crisis.
right.
Thank you for giving me what I get to look
The
forward
other two
to.
are just precursors. The third one is actually life smacking you in the face. So, sorry, that's the definition I have. Go.
Yeah.
Carry on.
All jokes aside, though, there may be some truth to that, right? Like there may be some of that, yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, and then environmental factor is
what about
guns.
females though? Hold on, let's pause for a sec. Let's put a pin in the gender or the environmental. What are the risk factors for female?
Yeah, so females have higher thoughts and ideations of suicide, fewer attempts.
So they think about it more, but they don't actually formulate a plan
Yeah.
or come up with a way of doing it.
Yeah, they don't act on it.
Right. Huh.
Yeah, they'll have like more ideations, but like fewer attempt.
Interesting. Interesting. And is there an age bracket for females?
I'm actually not too sure on that one.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair. Okay, so environment.
Yeah, so guns in the home, that is a risk factor.
I feel like that one's a pretty
Mm-hmm.
pretty obvious one, right? Like
Right.
if you've got ways, yeah, that's
Yeah, so access to lethal means, that's a huge risk factor.
yep, makes sense. Checks out. I think too, like I think about some of the suicidal assessments that I've done working clinically, and like if they have had any recent loss.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? I mean, I don't know a ton about suicidology. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Bam, bingo,
Boom.
score
Look
for
at you
Jared.
go.
Why do you think that is? Like, is it just the depression, the grief, the loss? Like, why is recent loss, such a contributor to suicidal ideation?
Yeah, because it's the bereavement is so painful, right? Suicide is about ending pain.
So if you're experiencing pain from grief and loss, naturally,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Yeah, and naturally you're going to be feeling a tremendous amount of pain.
got you. Okay. So environmental.
Yeah.
Did we go over everything in environmental for risk factors?
I think so.
Okay.
That's-
I think
That's
also
what's like
a
coming off
history.
the top of my head because like I wanted to go into that too. It's like the history.
Yeah, like I know a history of family. Like if they have family that's had a history of suicide or suicide attempts, that's a contributing factor. Is there something genetically there?
Genetically, it's not so much that it's genetic.
Okay.
It's like there's a justification that goes on. That's
It's almost like a learned behavior, or
like
help me understand that.
it's like, okay, yeah, if they can do it, I can do it.
Okay.
And then like the bereavement.
Like an unspoken permission almost.
Yeah, like an unspoken permission. That's why suicide loss is so difficult. And that's why it's a risk factor, is because there's like, okay, if they could do it, I could do it.
Got you.
Like their pain, like they ended their pain, I can do mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It's a
Totally makes
painful
sense.
thing.
Is there an association or a tie to, I mean, I think I know this answer, but self-harming and suicidal ideation.
Yeah, so non-suicidal self-injury.
Okay.
Okay.
How's that a risk factor?
Because when somebody, like one of the most common forms of self-harm is cutting,
Sure.
right? So it's a risk factor, but it's not a warning sign directly. Because what it's doing is cutting, self-injury, non-suicidal, it's a temporary way to end the pain.
Interesting.
Some people will say, oh,
because you'd think, like most people I'm sure that are listening to this would think self-harming increases pain, but we're not talking physical pain.
No.
So talk to me about why if people are listening and this is basically like somebody speaking Japanese, they don't understand it clinically like you do. Why would self-harming take away pain?
Yeah, because it releases the same chemicals in the brain, like all those good feel-good chemicals, dopamines, like everything.
Really?
All those feelings of euphoria, everything. It all comes out with that release. And it's like a lot of people are like, oh, I just feel so much better. It's like, the pressure cooker on an Instapot.
Okay. I love
like
the analogy.
Little knob, right? It's like, I'm about to blow up.
Got you.
Can breathe.
Got you.
And then,
makes sense.
So that's like a temporary relief.
Yeah.
Some people will say, oh, I self-harm because it keeps me from dying by suicide. It keeps me from making an attempt.
Got you. So I love the pressure cooker analogy. That totally made sense in my mind when you said that. Let's talk about warning signs of suicide. And listen, I know suicide is kind of a heavy topic, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing about this because it needs to be talked about. Yeah. Like it especially with COVID passing and people's mental health right now is just in the gutter.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure you see it. You work in a clinical setting. We see it. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's a hot mess express.
Hot mess express. Absolutely. So I love that we're having this conversation, even though it's an uncomfortable sometimes or difficult conversation to have. You looked at me strange. It's not uncomfortable for you.
Oh, no, I just was like, this is just, I swear, I can have fun.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
No.
So warning signs. If I am a parent, a loved one, and I'm concerned for a friend, what are some warning signs that I should look for if I'm concerned that there's some kind of suicidal ideation going on?
Yeah, so there's a few big ones to look out for. Is talk. If they talk, like, ugh, I am so done with it now. Like, ugh. Yeah. Like things like that. It's like asking about it directly. It's like, are you having thoughts of suicide?
Just being directly up front.
Be direct. Yeah, say, are you
Is that a form?
thoughts?
Now, I'm trying to play dumb just to, just do this role play with you here.
Yes.
So that would be considered a form of passive suicidal ideation. Yes or no? Just the mentioning.
So yeah, it's kind of a passive, and it's
so
like
let's pretend I'm a client of
line.
yours. Okay, I'm a client of yours. I come in, I meet with you. You're doing a biopsychosocial on me, and we're setting goals. And I'm just like, I just don't have any goals, Stacie. Like I'm just tired. I'm just tired of everything. Like I don't want to get clean. I mean, I for what? I'm just going to relapse again. Are there some indicators in that style of conversation that pops red flags for passive suicidal ideation to you?
So I would ask, are you having thoughts of suicide?
So you just be direct.
Be direct.
So a family member should take the same approach, or a loved one, somebody that cares about somebody and has that concern.
And that can be scary. And
sure.
How human, right? It's totally like it's in our biology to survive. And that's part of why suicide is so difficult, is because it goes against our basic instinct of survival.
Yes, on so many levels. What are some other warning signs of suicide?
So a really important one to look out for is sudden burst of energy and happiness.
Now talk to me about that. Why is that a risk factor?
So if someone is depressed and they're low, they've had like a heavy depression, and suddenly they're energetic, excited, bushy-eyed, bright-tailed, whatever. I totally mixed up that thing. Whatever. No. You're right. Suddenly they're
bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, energetic.
Yeah. That is a sign, and that's a warning sign of suicide, because to them, in their mind, they're thinking, I know that my pain is going to end soon. I've
figured out a way to make my pain end.
Yeah. And so it's like in their mind, it's like, okay, I have my solution.
That one's a tougher one though, right?
Right.
It's a tougher one for sure.
Yeah, it's often overlooked.
What are some obvious ones as time's ticking down here, 2 minutes left? What are some real obvious ones?
Yeah, so getting personal effects in order, like personal affairs, like getting things ready to like be ready. Like, oh, yeah,
So giving
here's a
things away.
Yeah, here's a sentimental thing.
Settling on debts maybe.
Yeah, settling on debts, making sure like wills are in order, making sure like, okay, yeah, I got all this and that prepared.
Yeah, because it's a strong correlation with them beginning the ending process.
Right.
Yeah, I get that. Anything else?
History of abuse is another risk factor that we kind of like blanked over.
Okay.
Is history of abuse can be one of the larger risk factors. You know, and if we think about like the statistics behind abuse and correlation with addiction, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So if somebody has addiction and abuse in their past, they probably are at high risk. So we got a minute left here, Stacie. Thank you so much. You have just been amazing. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge. What advice would you give somebody who's struggling or, you know, is concerned? Like, take us away in the last minute. Be direct. Ask them a direct question. Are you thinking of committing suicide?
Dying by suicide, yeah.
Yeah, dying by suicide.
So
dying by suicide.
what I would want them to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that there's hope. You know, it's like, yeah, the world can be really difficult. And it's not that you want to die. It's you want the pain to end. And the moment you're in right now doesn't last forever.
No feeling is final.
No.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. You did fantastic. For as nervous as you are, you rocked it, girl. You did amazing.
Thanks, Almi.
Join us next week for episode 75. We're going to have Fame on, a local biker group.
Thank you for joining us today on We Do Recover with Jared Miller.
Help us spread our message of hope. Like, comment, and share.
If you have any topics or ideas for future shows, please share that on our Facebook page.
That Facebook page is We Do Recover with Jared Miller. If you or a loved one needs help, please reach out to us. Again, thank you for listening.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. This has been a production from a podcast studio.